Welcome. Lovely to see you too. And welcome to people watching on the replay as well. I gather quite a lot of people are catching the replay, so thank you for that and welcome. And hi Nancy, welcome. Lovely to see everyone. And I haven't got a presentation or anything today, but I thought I might just show you a few things I've been getting up to with my Instant Pot Mini this week. I think I did them all in the Mini. Yeah, a combination of the Mini and the air fryer for one of them. So I thought I'd show you a few pics and just give you some ideas really of what you can do with these things. Update on the yogurt video. I haven't quite, it's late because of life, but it's filmed. I just need to finish the edit, so it'll be up in the next few days. What I have just published is a short about yogurt. I'll come on to in a minute in response to quite a few questions that I was getting in. Wonderful tips. Oh, let's try and let's share our tips as well. But let's tell you what I've been doing actually, because I'll probably do something about one of the things I'm going to share with you at some point. So let's give you a preview. So this week, a friend of mine, another YouTuber, he is thinking about using another kind of pressure cooker to make a recipe, and we were talking about lamb shanks. And close your eyes if you don't eat meat. We don't eat loads of it, but lamb shanks is one of the things that's really good in the pressure cooker. And so I thought I would kind of take one of the an old recipe from years ago. Hi there. I thought I'd take a recipe from many years ago when I was quite young from Nigella, who's a British cook who's very in the news right now because she's taken over on a TV show called Bake Off. I think there's something similar in quite a few other countries. But anyway, years ago, she did this recipe of kind of spiced lamb shank. And normally I eat lamb shanks with sort of rosemary and a kind of rich gravy, or I might do them with a kind of paprika and tomatoey style sauce, or Moroccan style. But this one was just a little bit different. And I thought, oh, it's kind of a mix of different things with cardamom and stuff like that. So I thought, oh, I might just see how would I translate this stove style recipe, which she did. I think she did some on the I saw a video of it. She did some on the stovetop, and then I think it went in the oven, if I remember rightly. So I was like, how can I translate that to pressure cooking? And it made me think actually that I should maybe do a video or some more sort of trying to get my thinking out about how I translate normal recipes, and I don't always get them right at all, and usually it takes me a few times to get it right. But this one came out really well, so let me show you. Spiced lamb shank, and I made it in the Mini because I thought, well, I'm loving the Mini at the moment. So I had one large lamb shank, which is plenty enough for two because we don't eat huge quantities of red whip meat, although Mr. Cooking and Calm would if I didn't just buy small portions. But yeah, it was in a kind of really lovely spiced kind of gravy. And for any of you thinking about lamb shanks, there's the meat. When I took it off the bone, so I sort of cubed it off the bone. So I cook a lamb shank, and my sort of baseline is to cook it for 35-40 minutes, depending on the size of it. And if you want, this was more so I could cube it without it completely falling apart. But if I wanted to make it shreddable, I'd do it another 5 minutes or so. And again, you do have to experiment a bit because it depends how old the lamb is. It depends how powerful your pressure cooker is, or all those things. So we're always experimenting a bit. But this one came out pretty good first time, I have to say. So I will do something about this. I might sort of refine it or do another lamb shank recipe. But these are the kind of cuts, if you do eat meat, that the Instant Pot pressure cooker really love. You know, they really excel at these cuts that usually will take a really long time to cook down, and they come out very moist. And you haven't got the oven on for hours. You save an awful lot of power, and they're one of those dishes where you can just kind of let them sit and let that meat get to complete fall off the bone. Even on keep warm, it'll get there eventually. Oh yes, right. Let me go over to the comments because I've just spotted one that that is correct. Chaka's mum, is that the one she did for a weeknight dinner party in Nigella Bites? Yes, it is. I'll find the video and stick it in the description of this live for you if you'd like to see it. It's quite funny because it's a really old TV show, and Nigella's kind of, this cook sort of in her house. She's known as the domestic goddess. And she was kind of supposedly getting ready, and putting lipstick on and boots and wiping her lipstick off with toilet paper. The whole thing's just quite a funny watch, but it's a really nice recipe. And I always think of her as a cook as doing a lot of sort of cakes and butter and things that I can't really eat nowadays. But I'd forgotten that actually she does really good recipes that are like hearty food, and I love that her recipes are very much kind of home cook based, so they're often not too tricky. And because she does kind of hearty food, I'm definitely going to be having a look into some of her old archive to see what might work in the Instant Pot. Now, let me go over to the comments because you're all chatting. Welcome everyone. Oh, Pennsylvania, hi. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. Not Patty said, I like lamb in a restaurant, but the one time I cooked it 50 years ago, it tasted horrible. Well, after 50 years, Patty, it might be time to try again. I've actually cooked in the past. It's probably a bit too big for the mini, but I've cooked lamb shoulder in the pressure cooker and then combined it. Did I do it with the air fryer lid? Either with the air fryer lid or in an air fryer. I then finished it off to get some kind of crunchy bits on top. But again, lamb shoulder cut, again, a cut that takes an awful long time in the oven. Brilliant for the Instant Pot. Any of those kind of meats. And Joyce loves lamb shanks. Me too. Yes. So Joyce has said, I've normally cooked mine in the slow cooker, but I'm going to try in the mini. Yeah, both good, aren't they? Have I cooked? I don't think I've cooked them in the slow cooker, but that's a traditional way of cooking lamb shanks. Joyce, if you do try the pressure cooking version of lamb shanks, I'd love to know, and I'm sure others here would, what you think about the flavour of a sort of slow cooking versus pressure cooking. So I think most of you know that I don't do a lot of slow cooking. So I find it, when I did it many years ago, I always felt that it was a bit tasteless because I'd probably take a bit more care with it now, and I'm probably a better cook than I was then. Thank you for that. I'd love to hear. Oh, Chaga's mum has an amazing memory here. So so they're saying followed by the creme brulee. So that's this Nigella TV show. Yes, it absolutely was followed by the creme brulee, and then a whole gang of people sort of laughing around the dinner table. It is a funny one. So I love Nigella Bites. She was much more a mildly chaotic home cook in that show. That sounds right up my street. So I think I'm going to have to dig out the archive of Nigella Bites. And as I say, the one with the lamb shanks is definitely on YouTube. So I suspect there are clips from the other shows on there too. And Joyce is going to let me know if she does the lamb shanks in pressure cooker versus slow cooker. I would really like to know. Because I am, I just love pressure cooking, so I'm unlikely to change. But I do get asked that question a lot, and I'm not really equipped to answer it. So that's one of the things I've been up to this week, was kind of trying that out. And yeah, it's in the freezer now. We haven't eaten it yet, but the sauce was much more tasty than I expected. It was really subtle, really quite nice. and not too thick, because the lamb shank itself is so tasty and rich. So yeah, nice little recipe. And then the other thing I was doing this week was cooking a whole chicken. So I got a little chicken, and I cooked that in the mini. Um, I think it was 2.1K. So a small chicken fits in the mini for pressure cooking. An even bigger one fits for slow cooking. Um, and I cooked that because it was quite small. I think I cooked it for something that probably I did 22 minutes, something like that, 20 or 22, because one, it was quite small, and two, I knew I was going to put it into the air fryer afterwards. So again, if you like chicken, a whole chicken, that's the one thing that I think the air fryers, the instant pots that have got the air fryer lids really excel at. But these days, I still prefer to have a drawer style air fryer like this one here, that I put up with not having my big crisp out, the many that I have out um, at the moment, and that I will lift a chicken into the air fryer to finish off. So in this case, in the mini, I got that little chicken in, and if you can see there, I did some little diced carrots and celery, and onion there was in the bottom, which I sort of sauteed off a little bit in oil. Then I put the chicken in on the trivet, which makes it much easier to get out. Handy hint. Uh, and I also stuffed in some new potatoes that I had in the fridge. So some waxy style potatoes. They can take a longer cook in the Instant Pot than a floury style potato, which will just go to mush. But waxy potatoes, even putting them in with the chicken all that time, they still came out fine. And then when the chicken was finished in the pressure cooking, I just used that little trivet, lifted it over into my air fryer, and just I'd preheated the air fryer on the, I think it's 2 or 5, the max on mine, and just put it in there for 10 minutes. So if you do want more of a kind of roast chicken style with a slightly crunchy skin, that's a really good way of doing it if you've got a big enough air fryer. I'll come and see what you're saying about that in a minute. When we don't really eat the chicken skin so much now, although again, I love it. Um, but often when I'm making a chicken in the pressure cooker, I'm making it for, oh, let me just close down that photo so you can see me. Often when I'm making a whole chicken in the pressure cooker, I'm making it to shred more or to add to soups to have it in the fridge so that I've got easy, good protein that I can quickly knock up meals and sandwiches and soups with in the week. And so I don't mind that it's pale and flabby when it comes out of the pressure cooker. But if I'm going to kind of serve it up as a roast chicken, even if I'm not going to air fry it, just for the way it looks, it's really nice to put paprika on the top. So to give it a kind of rub with paprika and turmeric, if you like that. Any of the sort of redder spices, and actually the chicken really looks quite roast. So in terms of eating with your eyes, if people go ooh and they see the white chicken coming out of the pressure cooker, that's a good way around it, even though the skin is obviously soft if you pressure cook. So yeah, let me just see what you're saying in the comments about that. uh, Oh, there's a question. I'll mark any questions I'm getting here for later. Oh my goodness. Chaka's mum has got like the best memory ever. If I recall, this is a Nigella recipe again, just flicking about. She thickened the gravy with red lentils. Yes, she did. So I'd scaled down the recipe quite a long way. So it only ended up being a small amount of red lentils, but it worked absolutely fine. So even scaled right down, that's a good pressure cooking recipe. If you are doing it, I should do something about this. In the recipe I had anyway that I found online, it said cover the lamb shank with water or stock. Don't do that if you're using the pressure cooker. It'll just be a wash in water. I just used the minimum amount of liquid for mine, and that was plenty. You don't need to cover those kind of cuts when you're pressure cooking. It doesn't dry out. Oh, I'm making you hungry with the chicken, sorry. Just put butter chicken on it in the Instant Pot. Ooh, welcome, Eli and Kate. Butter chicken, very nice. Haven't done that. Again, I'm not supposed to eat loads of butter, but butter chicken is delicious, and it should work really well for you, that recipe. And it's true that chicken looks horrendously unappetizing if it isn't crisped up in the oven. Yeah, it doesn't look great. I'm sort of used to it now. I just think of it as a different kind of food, I guess. But yeah, a bit of paprika and turmeric, just rubbing that on the chicken before you pressure cook it. I've probably got a photo somewhere, but it looks more or less. It doesn't look that different actually to that when it comes out. It's just the texture isn't there, it hasn't got the crisp, but the colouring is really good, and it just gives you that sort of sense that it's something lovely to eat if you don't like the look of the white chicken. So that's what I've been up to experimental wise in the Instant Pot. I have lots of things that I make all the time in the Instant Pot every week. So another week I'll tell you what my sort of staples are in case there's anything there that you've got questions about. I still do, even though I've got a new kitchen with a nice new oven and a nice new hob now, because in the old house it was awful. My preference is I'm still always wanting to cook in the Instant Pot if I can. It's just my thing. Oh, another tip for putting on chicken: gravy browning. You could also do. Thank you. Okay, right. So I'll take, we had one question here already in the chat, so let me answer that before we start. Oh, it's disappeared. There it is. Here. I adore my mini and have a really old, larger Instant Pot. I am looking to replace suggestions on best all-rounder, easy to use, larger one. HGJC Dormouse with a adorable little photo there. Welcome. Are you looking for? I don't even have a really old large. Are you looking? Do you know if you're looking for an 8-quart size, the really big ones, or whether you're looking for a 6-quart size? Let me know a little bit more about what you're looking for, and whether you're in the US, UK, or somewhere else. I won't be able to answer your question completely, but I'll throw a few thoughts in if I know what country you're in, because it's very different. And I kind of know most of the US, UK. I don't know much about the other country ones. So yeah, I'll come back to that again later when you tell me just a little bit more. So how big you want to go? Oh, let's just get rid of that one. And right, let's get some questions from the comments on my main videos this week. I had 2 questions, very similar, following up on yogurt, which were, and actually, I know that there's other people who've got this issue. My problem is that I'd like to warm the milk in the IP directly. Is there a setting or a trick for that? Do you know about that? So this was talking about yogurt. So you can warm the milk in the Instant Pot directly. I think this was someone who doesn't want to do the scalding stage, the boil pasteurization type stage, but did still want to warm the milk a bit in the Instant Pot before going into fermentation. And so I think I've answered this one by text, but yes, you could, if you just wanted to warm the milk rather than boil it, and you were using a thermometer to get somewhere close to your ferment temperature, you could just put the Instant Pot on saute low for a few minutes to get it up to temperature, or keep warm. But just be careful about putting milk on high in the Instant Pot when it's not on one of those yogurt settings, because it sometimes gets really burned to the bottom. So if I were doing it that way, I'd probably put it on a lower setting and just wait a little bit longer till it got to temperature. And then now this question I'm often getting, and I've just done a short this afternoon. I just got my 4-quart. I use ultra pasteurized milk to make yogurt, and therefore I do not need the boil stage for this process. Does anybody know how to skip the boil stage? And now on some of the models, the newer model, the Instant Pro, I don't know if it's still there, Eli. This is an issue because you can't skip the boil stage. At least I haven't found a way to. But on the Mini, so our little entry level, you can skip the boil stage. But you just need to be used to those little buttons. So I've just made a short that's just gone up, but I'll just play you the main bit of the video that shows you the buttons because it's hard to explain it. It's easier for me to show you. So let me just show you the bit of the short that shows you that if you wanted to skip stage 1 of yogurt is boil, and you want to go straight into fermentation. It does allow you to skip that boiling. So let me show you the controls. So if we're making yogurt, we'd start by clicking that yogurt button. And let's go back a little bit. And I just want to use the Instant Pot for the fermentation stage. And in the Mini, it does allow you to skip that boiling. So let me show you the controls. So if we're making yogurt, we'd start by clicking that yogurt button. And you can see here that 10 hours is currently flashing, and that's the time for fermentation. So we don't want it to be on that part of the setting. So I'm going to use the centre button here, which on my UK model just has a picture of the clock and the temperature. So I'm going to click on that. And now you can see we've got 2 bars flashing there, and these bars indicate which yogurt setting we're on. So let's start from the beginning. Use the up and down keys, go to the first one first. 3 is boil. That's the highest temperature that you're going to get in your Instant Pot Mini. So that's your boil your milk stage. But what if you don't want to use that? Well, we'll come back to these up and down buttons. And if I go here and there's 2 little lights flashing, that is the standard yogurt making setting. That's what I always use for my yogurt. And that is 40 degrees centigrade, which is about 104 Fahrenheit. So let's look at your second option for fermentation. So we'll use these up and down arrows again, and we'll go down so there's only 1 bar flashing. And that one is 33 degrees centigrade, which is about 91 Fahrenheit. So once we've chosen, let's say I want mine to be on that middle one, which is how I do it, I can then press the clock and thermometer button again. And now we're flashing the time, and I can change my fermentation time here. And the fermentation on the Mini goes for anything from 30 minutes to, let me check, 99 hours and 30 minutes. That would be quite a set, but you've got a lot of adjustment on the timing, but you've only got 2 temperatures ferment, but I think that's good enough, isn't it? Then you want to set it away. All you'll be doing now is clicking your start button, and then it's on, it will go preheat, and then it will start fermenting. All done, super easy. Now go make some yogurt. So I've just been asked whether you... Okay, so this seems to be a bit of a puzzle for people. It's not a great UI, it's not a great interface, this little bit about how you change the yogurt, but it's if you're in the US, your Instant Pot will have writing on probably on those buttons, but our UK versions are icons only, and it's not that easy to work it out. So if you've been a little bit confused about it, that's what it is. So for the 40 degrees, what is it? 40 degrees, that middle setting with the 2 little light flashes, that's your kind of standard dairy yogurt sort of setting. And then some people want to make low and slow, and I believe, maybe, tell me if you know, that plant milks might work better on a lower setting. But so with the Mini, you can do that, either that 40 degrees or the other one is 33 degrees, which is about 91 Fahrenheit. And you can do a very long a long ferment. So that's pretty good for this little, entry level model, given that the new Pro doesn't let you adapt it much at all. Um, One of the better ones for adapting for yogurt is the Instant Pot Duo Plus Whisper Quiet. That one is very, very adaptable in terms of the temperature and the length of fermentation. But anyway, if you're out there and you're interested in the whole low and slow El Rotary kind of style yogurts, I did do a video specifically about that low and slow ferment and showed you some of my models and what sort of settings that you can get on the models that I've got. But there's been some new ones since then. So as ever, always have a look at the instructions on the official Instant Pot site. Now, let me just come back to the chat and see if anyone's asking any questions about that. Hi, Cheryl. Right. Right, here's a related question on yogurt. Is ultra-processed milk the same as UHT? Looking forward to yogurt upload. I know, I'm sorry I'm so late. I'll get there eventually. I think it probably is. It sounds like it is. I don't know. The term ultra-processed milk isn't one I know. It's called UHT here, ultra high treated or something. Or sterilized milk. It's the kind of milk that isn't in the fridge section. Can sit. It's got very long shelf life because it's been heated so high already. So some people prefer to do that. I am told, and I don't know, I know a bit of sort of biochemistry and stuff, but I don't know fully about this. But I've been told several times now that part of the heat treatment isn't just about sterilizing the milk in terms of reducing the amount of bacteria. It is also about changing the shape of the proteins in milk that helps with the set. So I guess I would say if you find you're making it with your UHT or sterilized milk and you're not getting a set, it may well be worth doing a pasteurization cycle or heating up your milk manually in a saucepan if you prefer to do it that way, and just seeing if there's any difference. Because some people do seem to have problems getting a set. I tend to use dairy milk, good quality, full fat, always use full fat to get a good set. I do. And I also always use, I think I said this last week, I always make sure I've got the freshest yogurt possible, plain yogurt, unless I'm using my own. Because once you've made your own, you can freeze in an ice cube tray and you can use the yogurt ice cubes as your starter the next time. So that's a really lovely way of doing it. But if you want kind of, a sort of straight way of doing it, it's just trying to get a really good live yogurt, not flavored, no extras in there. It just needs to be a live, plain, natural yogurt. Let me just check what you're saying. Yogurt, yes. Hi, Gary. Means ultra heat treated. Thank you. Patty saying, I've never eaten a plant-based yogurt. I wonder how it compares in taste to milk-based. I've had coconut yogurt, which wasn't coconutty at all. Again, it was quite a kind of pricey one, and that was really nice. But I've never made, and I probably should try making yogurt with. I tend to use almond milk when I'm using plant milks, but I've never done it. I don't know if anyone else has. Please say. Oh, wow. Chaka's mum needs to get a YouTube channel here. The closest I've got is making tofu. Wow. I'm really impressed. I've never done that. Have I ever used your yogurt in paprikash? No, I haven't. I don't tend to make that, actually. Tell me more. Okay, let me go back again to our questions. So we've done the ultra process. We've done pressing the buttons. Yeah, El Rituri. Oh, a little tip for you, following on from last week. Someone wrote in and said the ball and cur half pint jars should fit and are a little more narrow, so may fit a few more. So that's just that stuff about which jars fit. And you'll see I did a little live this week going through some of the jars that I've discovered fit in the mini in order to make yogurt in the jar, which is how I like to do it. Now, I had a question about the pasta one pot that I made, the minced turkey, ground turkey pasta one pot. And the gist, it was a longer question. I've just cut it down a bit here to get it in. But the question was really about, could you use a different pasta shape in order to retain a little bite? Because if you've seen that video, you'll see me saying this is not restaurant style pasta. And if we're making a one pot pasta with turkey mince, it's pretty hard to get it out al dente. However, let me give you some tips about which pasta shapes that I've found are better, because I did do one this week that did come out a little bit more al dente, but it's a bit of an edge case pasta you may not be able to get. So the one I used when I was making the one pot, fairly well available, I think this in different countries. It was called Schiferi Rigati. Sort of like a slightly larger than macaroni. Let's see if we can. Ooh, going in the wrong direction. There it is. And I think, you know, when we're talking kind of cheesy macaroni meaty dish, no, it's totally fine. It doesn't have to be perfectly al dente. But where I'd say, something I'd say not to use is something like this. This is a rigatoni, pretty big shape. So when I'm choosing to do a one pot pasta in the Instant Pot, if you choose something as big as this, whoa, oh, that's gone on the floor. I'll leave it there for now. If you're using something as big as that rigatoni or any of the larger shapes, what happens is you can't really get them under the water, and they need to be just under the water, just covered, so that they're going to get cooked evenly. So what I found when I was trying out some of these larger shapes, and this one in particular, oh, it went really floppy, and it was almost like squid in a bad way, really floppy, and it was really overcooked and undercooked in other areas where I hadn't got it under. In order to get it under the water, you end up adding more water to your dish than you want to. So then you've got kind of more like a soup at the end. A little bit, it's all right to boil a little bit of water off at the end, but you don't want a kind of whole soup and you're boiling it for hours and making the pasta even softer. So big shapes for a one pot pasta, for me anyway, I've found are not as successful. The one I tried this week, which I'd never heard of, so I doubt anyone here will have done. This is, I'm in the north of England, and this is the Northern Pasta Company. It's a little artisan company in the UK, and they're making spelt pasta. So for anyone who has problems with wheat, sometimes spelt is an easier on the gut, an easier grain to digest. For some people, it's a traditional, still a wheat, still has gluten, but it's more of a traditional grain, so it's not one of those overly got really high in gluten. So I didn't really like the look of it when I saw it, but so there's the shape, and here's how it came out. There. So that's the same dish that we were talking about last week. I did the video on. So it's a mince, and I think I put some extra tomatoes and veggies in that one. But just like a very simple sort of one pot cheesy pasta with ground turkey in this case. But of course you could make it with ground beef. Someone said they did it with grated tofu, and that worked really well. So that's another great tip. But yeah, so this one worked really well. So I think what I would say is if you're looking to get a larger pasta so that it's got a longer cooking time and maybe holds its texture a little bit better than a smaller macaroni. A whole grain pasta often takes longer to cook, so I often use whole grain pasta. Or in terms of the shape, you're looking for something that's flatter, even if it's bigger, not too not shaped so that it's right above the water. Hope that makes sense. Let me just check in case anyone's got ideas here. We got another Joyce, another northern girl in here. They do sell this elsewhere in the country, everyone, as well. I'm not sponsored. Let's give a shout out to Northern Pasta. On their website, you'll find where they stock it, and it's not cheap, but it's very, very nice. Very nice pasta, and it's just very simple. It's just flour and water as it should be. There's no extras in it. It's bronze die cut. Those of you into your pasta, so it's really very nice. Second time, Paddy's saying it's the second time we've seen that huge rigatoni today. I have to remember to pick that up. Okay, so back to the questions before I come back over. Question about the beef stew video that's online. That's I can never remember whether I made it in the Pro or the Whisper Quiet, but someone said they were planning to make it in the 3.8 litre mini, and I'm guessing cooking time will remain the same. Yeah, I would just keep that one exactly the same. You can half its portion quite easily and do that in the mini, and I think it fit the whole portion. I'd have to check that, but yeah, absolutely keep the cooking time the same. There are some differences in cooking times between models. I generally find that recipes online tend to do longer than is needed, I guess, to kind of cover that. So if when you do something you feel like it's a bit overcooked, or it's always worth experimenting whether you can bring that time down a little bit. If you're cooking something very where you really need to be sure it's cooked, I always use an instant read thermometer when I'm cooking meat in the Instant Pot, so I can bring it down but just reassure myself that it is properly cooked. The Instant Pot Mini is probably a slightly lower pressure PSI. I think it is, I'd have to check, than some of the like Instant Pot Pro models that can go really quite high. They're not approved for canning, not in this country anyway. And I don't think any of them are approved for canning anymore. They were at one point, and I don't think that's because there's anything wrong with them. My understanding is that it's very hard to get approval for pressure canning. I'm talking about here, not water bath. I think it's a lot of regulation because it can be so dangerous around pressure canning. So to get that approval is quite a lot of work. And I don't know that, I think it might be the FDA in America are even doing that work at the moment. So I don't think there's anything kind of wrong, but yeah, it's none of them are approved, certainly in this country, for that. But some of them have got a very high PSI. So they might, if you've got a Pro model with the handles, you might find some of the recipes online, they might cook quicker in yours. So see if you can cut a minute off at a time next time you do it. Check with your instant read if it's meat and see if that works better. I often am surprised how long some things are cooked for. And more of a kind of, I guess, a kind of a comment and a question. Someone who's new to the Instant Pot Pro, mine seems to take around 25 minutes to come to pressure. Is that right? And then it was a longer comment again. I've just cut it down to fit. But then there's a possible slow release, a natural release. It's anything but quick, you know. So you know that's true. For some foods, it's not quicker. I always give my example of steel cut oats. So steel cut oats or pinhead oats, they're the kind of oats that they're not rolled flat, they're just chopped. and they take about half an hour on the stove top, and they're glugging away. And you have to keep stirring them. They take a very long time to cook, so they're very low in processing. The best kind for blood sugar, if you're looking out for your blood sugar, just lower GI. And I love them. And yeah, so they take a long time on the stove. And in the Instant Pot, put them in and put the pressure on for 4 minutes, but then they're on natural release for about 20 minutes usually it takes, depending on size of quantity. So in a way, yes, some Instant Pot recipes, they are taking the same time overall, or pressure cooking recipes, but the difference is I'm not standing by the stove stirring and um, adding water and, just having to keep an eye on it. I haven't got glugs of steel cut oats all over my stove top. With the Instant Pot, we're literally setting it away and then just going away, just going off. And if we're not back in whenever that pin drops, when the pressure releases, it's fine. It's keeping it warm for much longer than that as well. So it is completely time saving, but not in linear terms, It's that you can do something else while the Instant Pot's cooking. Same with risotto. And then it's absolutely time saving for some of those cuts of meat, like lamb shanks we talked about earlier, will always be much quicker, even if you are natural releasing. It's still beef shin, chicken, whole chicken, it's quicker. It's chicken thighs, all of those meats that take quite a while that you braise and slower cook in the oven. You're going to get a quicker cut overall. So yes and no, it isn't quicker, and yet it is, but it certainly frees your time. So I hope that kind of helps. Oh, and a little tip on the pasta dish again. My second time using this Instant Pot. This was a comment under the Instant Pot pasta dish with the Mini, Team Mini. Lots of you here who are Mini users, I know. What a lovely dish. Definitely as good as restaurant quality. I live in Spain, so I used half white wine instead of the stock. And then would I have a paella recipe? No, I haven't. I wouldn't know where to start with a paella recipe. Well, definitely not in the Instant Pot anyway. I could do it in the pan. Yeah, it's interesting. So you'd be using seafood. I'll think about that separately. But in terms of using a bit of wine in there, yeah, wine's a great addition to pasta dishes like this. And with that one pot dish, you could, I don't think I did it in the recipe because I was trying to keep it simple, but when you've browned off your ground beef or your ground turkey in that recipe, you might add some wine as you would on a stovetop, making a kind of bolognese or ragu, and stir that in, let it evaporate and soak into the meat is another lovely way of adding some extra flavour and just making it a little bit more special. Okay, right. So that's my questions from the comments this week. So I'm just going to have a look and see what's going on in the chat and see if I've missed anything. So let me see. There's a question. Cheryl, thank you. Any info on when additional inner pots will be available for purchase? I'm guessing this is for the Mini. I saw someone posted that the 6-quart pot fits inside the Mini for non-pressure cooking. Wondering about uses for that, as I have a spare. So 2 parts. I don't have any connection with Instant Pot at all. So I don't know. I don't get any preview or anything about when there will be a spare pot for that Mini. But I did look this week, and I agree. It's not there in the UK either yet. And in the past, they've always come up with the spare Instant Pot in a pot eventually. I'm really hoping they do for this one, probably like some of you. It just makes life easier to have an extra one. You can keep one in the dishwasher. And for people like me who are cooking with it all the time, it's just great to have 2. This issue about the 6-quart pot we discussed in last week's live. So if you're already an Instant Pot user and you've got the 6-quart, 5.8 litres, 5.7, 5.8, that one. Um, that one, we were, what the context of that was someone who was thinking of making yogurt in the mini, but the balls jars that I and lots of people use don't fit in the mini because of its low depth. So I can't remember their name, but someone went and tried it and put in a 6-quart pot. So it was above obviously it was sticking right out above the main housing of the pressure cooker. But when you're making yogurt, that doesn't matter. It's just running at 40 degrees. What is that? 140 Fahrenheit. It's just a low, very low running. So it's almost like you've got it on the hob on a very, very low temperature, and just with a glass lid on top would be what they would be doing, I imagine. So yeah, don't you wouldn't be able to use it for pressure cooking, of course, because the lid wouldn't go on anyway. But I'm not a fan. I'm very risk averse about pressure cookers and life, you might say. But I really don't myself ever recommend these off the market pots that come out, where you can get a non-stick or something that fits, but it isn't made by Instant Pot. Because look, these are pressure cookers. There's a reason we're all quite fearful of them when we start out. It's a very delicate kind of machinery there. And for myself, the idea of using a non-stick coated pot, especially if it wasn't made by Instant Pot, in something that's coming up to high pressure that hasn't been tested with the device for safety, I question whether the non-stick might peel or be giving off something. I, I don't know. I don't know. So I stick with, if it's an Instant Pot, I use Instant Pot pots. That's my that's where I come from on this. And if it's a Ninja, I'd use a Ninja pot. Whatever sort of brand you've got, because they'll have done their safety testing on that. And especially pressure cooking, be careful. Be careful with faffing about with bowls that might just be a millimetre out, but for pressure cooking, more than likely it just wouldn't come to pressure, but I don't want to try. So I hope that helps. And let's hope those inner pots come soon. Neil's saying, let's see here, on this yogurt issue, I think that heat changes the milk. Oh, that's interesting. I remember those milk bottles with the beer bottle tops. So yeah, I've had this quite a few times. It makes sense, kind of biochemically, the idea that the proteins would change when you reheat them up. So yeah, if you're having problems with sterilized, try the heated thing and see how it goes. Lentil pasta here's another tip from Patty. Lentil pasta is my go-to for pasta salad. It holds up very well. Yeah, we can get some really great pastas now. I haven't tried. I think I've tried a chickpea-based pasta. I don't think I've tried a lentil one, but I would like to. All just diversity is everything, isn't it? Just trying different things. Gary's Big Spud saying the Northern Pasta Company, brilliant branding. Everything's northern up north. We like to support our own. A reminder about Instant Pot recommendations. Thank you. Here we go. It would be a 6-quart from the UK. A 6-quart you'd be looking for. So if you're looking for a bigger pot and you're in the UK, what have you got in the 6-quart now? So you've got the equivalent of the mini. Is it called Rio over here, or Classic? I can't remember, but that's very similar, just a bigger size to the mini, which I think you said you've got that one. You've got the Duo Plus range, I think, is still going. The Duo Plus range is sort of in between. It's like a mid-range one, the Whisper Quiet one that I've got a review on. Have a look if you're interested in that one. I love the control panel on that one. I think it's great, but what it doesn't have is the handles. So one of the distinguishing things about Instant Pots is whether you want the inner pot that has got handles on, silicone handles. So if you it is easier to move them around, of course, with those handles, and it's a higher grade stainless steel. So I think in the UK now, the Instant Pots that with the handles now, you can get the Instant Pot Pro Wi-Fi and the Instant Pot Pro Plus. Um, or Instant Pot Plus. No, Instant Pot Plus. I am testing the Instant Pot Pro Wi-Fi. That's quite a different model. I think I said last time I'm reserving judgment, but I don't really love bringing my phone out when I'm cooking and being having to use that. If you like a kind of Instant Pot where you could just use recipes that someone else has made, and you can set the Instant Pot away on their recipe and follow the steps through. So if you're kind of more of a beginner cook than a experimenter like me, and you're looking for something that will kind of take you through it, the one with the Instant Pot Pro Wi-Fi does that, and it has some extra settings on it, and then what's it called? NutriBoost, where it kind of gives it replicates a stirring action when you're making a risotto or something by bubbling up, and it also has a automatic steam release. So you don't have to touch anything. The timer will set it off itself. You choose how you want the steam release to happen. So that's the kind of top of the range, top of the budget. But it is a bit restricted. I'm not going to be able to answer you, The Instant Pot Plus, there is a video review, really good video review by Candid Clara on YouTube of the Instant Pot Pro Wi-Fi and the Instant Pot Plus, which is also Wi-Fi, but has a few differences. That video is worth looking at if you're looking at those top of the range models. Yeah, I don't know how to answer you really. There's so many issues with what you want your Instant Pot to do, as to which one to go for, that your best bet is really looking at reviews of different ones. And then if you get it narrowed down to two, it's easier for me to kind of to give you a bit of advice on that. So come back in the comments in the chat on YouTube, and I'll try and help. If other people have a thought on that, please do. But one of the big things is, well, obviously budget is a big thing, but one of the big things is, do you want this pot with the flat bottom that you can also use on the hob, on the stovetop? In which case you need the one with the handles, or are you happy with the standard round pot without the handles? I have mobility problems. I have pain, nerve damage. I don't have a problem lifting those pots in and out. Maybe I would if it was the 8-quart, but I don't have a problem, and I do have a lot of issues with hand mobility. But there's no doubt that those more expensive ones with the handled pots, they are better if you do a lot of sautéing of meat and stuff, because they've got a flat bottom. And the ordinary pot and the Instant Pot, it's domed. So if you look at that risotto video I did recently for the Mini, you'll see when I put the sage leaves in to saute them up, crisp them up, the olive oil just runs to the sides. So you kind of sauteing around the side. It's fine for any of the recipes, but you just haven't got that totally flat bottom. So if you were doing loads of meats and stuff where you want a really even sear, move up a bit to one of those. But if you're doing yogurt and you want to skip the pasteurization stage, you can't do that in the top of the range model. It's locked down. So you can do more in the Mini. It's a lot of pros and cons, and you've got to work out which ones suit you best. Okay. I've seen people use a tea kettle with pre-boiled water to use in the Instant Pot to bring it up to temp faster. Yeah, you can absolutely do that if it's not going to spoil any of the food you've put in. I will often, if I'm using not my own stock's often frozen, but you can use if you're using like a bouillon powder type stock, you can pour that stock in hot, and for the yogurt setting, you could kind of heat the bowl to save a bit of time as well. A good help to start. Thank you for your kindness, H. Well, just knocked out the way there. A good help to start. I love playing about myself. Handles would really help. So you're looking at the top of the range models to get the handles. Basically, that narrows it right down. So if you go on the Instant Pot site, I think there's only 2, unless they've issued yet another one, that have got the handles at the moment in the UK. And if you weren't here, I'm always saying this, but you can download the PDF instruction manual from the Instant Pot website for any of the models that you're looking at, and so you can have a good read, and just, if you're particularly into your yogurt, have a careful read before you buy one, or if you're really into whatever it is, check, because they all just have these little variations that I just don't notice until I've got one. Oh, thank you, Joyce. Sympathy for hand problems. Yeah, I think many of us here have got, various kind of health problems, and certainly for me, getting older, it's only going one way. But I have no problems lifting that mini bowl out, or the standard 5.7 litre. I don't have any worries saying to people, it is fine, you just use a little tea towel and lift it out, even when it's got loads of soup in. I've not had any problems, and I do have those problems. Cheryl's asking, does cooking frozen meat cause it to be tough? The only frozen meat I've cooked with personally is chicken thighs, and I've not had any problem with that. So I can say that. I think you're probably best go and have a look on some other Instant Pot creators' websites who do. It'll be the people who do a lot of dump and go, they call it. Maybe Seven Sisters Food, I think it is, that channel. You can probably find some on Pressure Cooking Today. Mum and daughter team, they might have some frozen ones. But yeah, I can't advise. I haven't done kind of full-on frozen joints of meat and stuff, but I've had no problem with chicken thighs. I think it's kind of a little bit like ordinary cooking. Chicken breast, you might find, dries out. It's always a bit of a challenge with chicken breast. You're trying to keep cooking times down to the minimum, but I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure. Okay, so I think that is us for the evening. I'll wait a moment in case I've forgotten someone's question or missed it. I'm going to be seeking out some lentil pasta. But yeah, try northern pasta. Very nice. They sell it at our farmers market up here. Yeah, I think we're done. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. I will stick some stuff in the description for this once it gets done. And yeah, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Keep experimenting with your Instant Pots, and do what I always say. It's like, don't expect yourself to always make a perfect dish. It's mostly edible, isn't it? Even when you've overcooked it, it's still edible mostly. So until we start making mistakes, we're not trying hard enough. And the Instant Pot can be such a help if you are having a busy life, or you've got illness, or you're a carer, or your work life just takes you into unpredictable places. It can be such a help to us. So I hope that you keep learning, and you keep bearing with it, and you keep forgiving yourself when you fail, and give yourself a round of applause for trying something new. And I will hope to see you all next week. We'll do this again next week, and I'll no doubt do something in the week, but I'll announce that later. So have a good weekend all. May your kitchen be calm and your food be good. See you later.